A short chapter, but a fun one nonetheless. I think now, with everything going on with Noct and Asta, even if it's a shorter chapter, I think we got a lot of just general information that we could really kind of expand upon, do some theory crafting, and really get a glimpse of what we're gonna see in the future. Because we did get some names for techniques and just general, like skill layout. Because we have all these different branches of abilities in Black Clover. Obviously, we have like the straightforward, just normal magic. There's runes, true magic. There's ultimate magic, double magic. And, now we have the whole binding ritual thing that's been going on, the whole servant master kind of setup. And it seems that, funny enough, because Asta decided to have like an equality thing going on with Libe, that he's not going to have the same level of like easy road to getting this union power, which is like this merging between the two. Because the black form that we've seen up until now, it's just Asta having like little bits of the anti-magic. It's just radiated off energy that he's just having layer on top of him, rather than this higher end form that we see Noct in. And I did like that with Noct's powers that he's got with his devil, it's not the same as like, any of the Dark Triad, how they have two magics. They have their own magic and they have the devil magic, whereas Noct is like, any of the devils seem to have like a perk that it just kind of enhances his shadow magic with. And where I think that's really interesting, if you go, we go back to Lucifero talking about Libe and how he must be some low-level devil with, what is it, paltry magic. If it's more of like anyone low-level, instead of getting a second magic, it's some form of weird perk, like some form of trick. I think that'd be really cool, the way that it's kind of like different between having the devils. Like any of these low levels, it's like an enhancement where it's like higher up you just get a full-on extra really powerful magic. I do really like that because it gives like it just gives like a difference in what sets the hierarchy between devils. Like even in the smallest aspect of just, what are they really gonna go up against? Like if you had someone like, say you ran into someone like Guillermo Dello, like his power, he makes like copies of himself. Or you go up against someone like Lucifero, it's like gravity, and then you the whole string of abilities that go with that. One is like useful, and it's like, yeah, a trick to get around, where one is a whole entire field of different powers and things you have to kind of like keep an eye on and just get an understanding of before you go against this opponent. So obviously, like, I used this panel as the one for this chapter. I really liked just the small little cool visual detailing of it. Like, it's nothing crazy complicated, but it's like each of his shadows becomes one of his familiars. But while it's being casted, instead of it being like, one shadow behind him that turns into a bunch of them, I like that it stretches in all directions. It just visually looks really cool. And I thought that was just a really neat thing for Tabata to do, just in general. But first off, like, going into the fight, like, he makes like his shadows and starts, he can just drop them underneath people. I think that's a really cool just thing he's able to do if he can utilize other people's shadows. Just in the broad scale of things, like, somebody has a shadow, go after him. It just adds something extra to him that's like, yeah, that's really dangerous. Because his power, Noct's power so far, doesn't have like as crazy as like, you look at any like the captains or even some like the vice captains and stuff, they'll have like relatively almost everybody like big in Black Clover has at least one broken ability. Like Yami had Dimension Slash and now he has Death Thrust, but you look at like obviously all of Julius, you look at Vanessa, you look at Charmy, relatively anybody. Any big character, like Nozel, he's got his Mercury Poison. They all have some kind of like trump card. It's their ace up their sleeve that they're going to drop on people whenever they get into like that last spot. Because before Yami had Dimension Slash, like the best part about his magic was how well it comboed together. How all of his spells could lead up into a really nice setup for another spell. And then he got Dimension Slash where he still has that, but on top of that, he has like a spell he can set up that's like, if it hits, it's almost a guaranteed, big edge in the fight. Even if it only cuts off an arm, that's still like a big win. Or at least a big step forward towards a win. But Noct, like, he doesn't have that same level of broken. I think it's just that say like his is going to be in how hard it is to deal with like his attacks, because like I said, if it was just his shadows, that would be dangerous, but like it's way more manageable. But if he can go after your shadows, I wonder if there's any criteria for that, like if he has to touch the shadow and then there's like a time limit of how long he can make when his attacks come out of it, or if it's just any shadow. That is something for me I think is a very intriguing aspect of his magic, because it's a big difference in how dangerous he is, if he could just freely use somebody else's shadows, or if there's like a way that he has to do it. Just because like anybody's gonna cast a shadow, and imagine you're fighting him and you're standing there and there's always like a couple feet of like an opening that he can attack you from, whatever angle your shadow is leaned off of, because he could be 50 feet away, but if your shadow is right behind you, that's only a couple feet that he's got to get an attack off, towards you. But Asta obviously has stuff like he's got that cool like black spin that he goes into like his black form, like what we saw way earlier. Like for instance, like what was it like when he went up against what part is it? It was like in the 180s to 190s chapter area. I think it was like while he was fighting. I'm trying really hard to remember. I think it was right before he fought with Yuno side by side, before they fought Licht. I'm trying really hard to remember. But he does the whole spin and then he's in the form. I have to go back and look. That's definitely gonna bother me, because I know it's happened before, because the first thing I thought of when I saw it was like, oh cool, he's doing that again. It's because I think that's a badass way to go into his black form. But as expected, one thing I've been fully calling since we saw Guido Mello and the other like devils turn small when they're in like manifested out, we get like a tiny little Libe. I like that Libe has the 3 versions. There's like the Chibi Libe whenever Asta's using his powers and he's manifested out in in the normal world. There's like regular Libe, what he actually looks like, and then there's like that weird devil realm, like where they're only silhouettes, where they don't have all their color. It's just this black kind of coloring for them with their eyes and their mouth and stuff. I like that they have the 3 versions. I think that's really cool. I know some people obviously are going to prefer the big spookier version. I like all 3 of them. I think they all have a different kind of like charm to them. And obviously like I like that Asta now has literally like a little devil on his shoulder that he's going to have going around, because I assume that Tabata introduced this, so when we meet other devil possessed people, like I don't expect there to be like 30 of them. But I believe that we're going to eventually see like a couple other, maybe not good, but kind of, not evil villain kind of characters, eventual allies that are going to have, similar devil powers. Because otherwise it'd be like, why introduce this if it's only going to apply to 2 characters? Like if it's just like two others like way later on, okay, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but I like that it's something set up for it to have. Like, oh yeah, you're a devil person, and you're gonna have these little manifested chibis of your devils like going around. I think that's just cool. But when it comes to like I was talking about earlier, the way that Nox's powers are working, it seems that it's gonna be like each of his devils, because they're lower level devils, each of them kind of have a perk, and how he combines that with his shadows, they're each gonna do something different. And here, when it comes to Guido Molo's devil powers, it's like he says, it's like the power is packed, so it's making all of these copies of him, but like with these shadow beasts. And one thing I really liked about them is that Asta said each of them have his key, like they have the same key kind of reading, and it's because of that he's having trouble finding him, because Asta doesn't obviously have mana sensing. He's got key sensing. He's able to figure people out by reading their key. And I like that this has like a really nice counter to key sensing people. And I'm wondering if Noct had this trained and kind of like developed to fight Yami, because think of what reason would you have to have like an anti-key sensing power? Oh, Yami, he doesn't like Yami. Maybe he was getting it ready to go after Yami. Who knows? Like, there's obviously definitely mysteries between like him and Yami, but I really want to know exactly what it extends into. Also, one thing to note is like the the devil shades could grab onto Asa's demon slayer sword while it was pitched black, which is really impressive for them because they obviously have the demon trait, or the whole devil trait onto the shadow magic. So like if you like, I'm wondering if while they're in this state, like they're using like the devil aspects, if there's like if you analyze the devil magic, if it's like, oh, it's 80%, devil, it's 80% magic and 20% devil powers. Like, is it 100% just devil magic? Like, is it its own thing? Or is it kind of like devil powers are its own trait mixed in with the magic to kind of like give it a unique sense? Because I think that'd be kind of cool if it's like anti-magic doesn't work as potently against devil magic. Like, if it's like, oh, against anti-magic, or against, maybe it's like if it's against devil magic, it works at like, I don't know, even half speed or something. Maybe something like that. I guess not really, because we've seen aspects of it, but I mean, like, I guess this is different because one thing Noct definitely has is he's not like absurdly powerful. I think we can all just guess he's not like someone like Dante or Xenon or Vonica. But it wouldn't surprise me if you compared the three of them, or the four of them, and it's like, they're stronger than Noct, but Noct has a better grasp currently on his devil abilities. Like, I'd be perfectly okay with that. I think that would make sense, at least to me. Just because, like, he's been at this for so long, and him and his devils seem very close, and he's got the whole binding contract to make him servants, so they have to listen to him, and they have to kind of, like, be, obedient. Whereas, even if you compared, like, Dante and Lucifero, Dante's very powerful. We know what Dante's like, but there's no way Dante's barking orders to Lucifero. I think at best, Dante has like a business partner relationship with him. Like, I genuinely believe that will be like a very potential differing factor. Like if Nox straight up said, I have better devil control currently than any of the Dark Triad, just off of like utilizing the devil's abilities. And then they're like, how does that possible? They're so much older and all these things. It's like, oh, well, he has control over them. So it would make sense. That's still like kind of like a little bit up in the air thing, because obviously the gaps between them are immense. And it wouldn't surprise me if like Lucifero just said, yeah, here, take all the powers, just go for it. Like if he just said, do whatever you need to do in order to get the job done, go for it. I'm not gonna hold back first. You just take it, kind of like thing. Again, it's a mystery. I mean, it's definitely something that I'm really hoping we get soon. I know a lot of people have been hyped at the idea of getting a Dark Triad chapter. Like, if we got, like, 2 chapters of just, like, seeing them interact with each other and Dark Disciples and maybe find a little bit about their plan, I'd be really hyped on that. And I don't think anybody would complain about just getting a Dark Triad chapter or 2, because I really like the Dark Triad. I think they're pretty cool so far, especially Dante. I think Dante's personality is very, very intriguing. He's very different and very odd. So I want to see more about him as a character and not just seeing him as a villain. Because up until this point, like up until like the Spade War, like just counting like what I would consider like what I consider part 1 of Black Clover, like start all the way through the Elf Resurrection arc, the only villains that we have Zagrid, you can look at like Rades and some of the, Eye of the Midnight Sun. I kind of like look at the elves as like a little bit of a gray area, because theirs is a matter of perspective, whereas like Zagrid was just malefic and evil. We haven't had a lot of like big, like what I would like see as like villains, like Zagrid for sure, Dante for sure, like any of the Dark Triad, they are evil. It's not like, oh, the elves were tricked, they thought they were wrong, and from their perspective they're doing the right thing. And I really want to see more of Dante, because I think he is, a very high potential villain for Black Clover to have. I think that the Tabata not being afraid to have him lose a match very early on and have this whole personality around, experiencing new emotions, even if they're bad, is really cool. I like that about Dante a lot. But near the end, Asta pulls out, his the katana got from Yami. He's calling it the demon slasher katana. I like that more than demon decapitator katana. I know some people like that, but I like the demon slasher, because I like the idea of like, well, Asta has it. He's just this high attack slashing demon launching attack after attack. I'm very curious, though, if it has a perk, because each of the other swords obviously has like a perk. Demon Dweller absorbs magic. Demon Slayer is like fully magic resistant, so it can cut and deflect magic. Demon Destroyer sword like is like cause and effect kind of stuff. You know, it's pretty much status effect things. I kind of wish I used the panel where Asta was had the sword out and getting ready, because it has like the Black Bulls logo in pitch black like there perfectly. But I'm wondering if it enhances his ki sensing, or if it even has a power, or if it's going to be like what Asta uses just to rely on his swordsman skills. Like the other ones, like he's gonna, you know, fight, but they each have their perk he's gonna want to be utilizing. Where if like maybe in the future he pulls this out, is just how can I kind of just utilize the best of my swordsman abilities and my ki sensing in this, kind of like just a focus style of fighting with his sword. Because one thing that he does is like he pulls it out and he says he's gonna surpass his limits, and Noct has like this twitch. He like obviously he doesn't like that. He's not a fan of that phrase. We know he doesn't like Yami. And Asa's able to pick up where he's at and send a couple slashes his way. I hope it's not just that he's got like these black slashes, because it's something he already has with the Demon Dweller sword. And these could be different. Like maybe just have like, oh, maybe these are faster or something, and it's just going to be anti-magic. You won't get the absorb magic slashes or something. But the thing about it that it kind of like has me a little curious is if it does enhance its ki sensing, or if it, like I said, if it's just like an outright focused kind of like use swordsmanship and whatever skills he's trained kind of setup, whereas Asa's like not relying on perks of the other swords, like it's just time to rely on his own abilities kind of thing. I'm very curious about that. So this chapter, it was short. Apparently Tabata got sick this week, so you know he didn't have a very long chapter. I don't really mind, because we got a lot of information from this chapter. This had a lot of really valuable content that even if it's short, like I think that the amount to talk about is well worth making up for just like, you know, a couple less pages where it would have been like, oh, maybe an extra line of dialogue or a cooler couple angles of the fight. I really liked just seeing a couple of these, you know, this information that we got. Just information and context in this chapter I think was really important. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Noct's other kind of powers are. I don't expect to see all 4 here. I'm guessing we'll see at least one more. I'd like to see like the bird one, or maybe the cat one. The bull one, because he's got, I think, a cow, kind of like, I'm guessing, a bull. And then he's got the bird, the cat, and the dog. And then right now we're seeing the dog. I'd like to believe that the bull is this like the strong one, like maybe his main one. Because I think it's a bull or a cow. I don't remember. It might be a sheep. I'm not 100% on one of them. But the cat one I definitely want to see. The bird one, I'm guessing, is going to be more of like movement and like maybe like just quick escape kind of setup. Who knows? Either way, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter. I was expecting to only go about 9 minutes, but like I said, there was so much to talk about that I ended up doing way more than I originally planned, which I guess really just shows this chapter had a lot of good things to kind of converse towards. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.